Skyrim is a game that lets you choose how you want to play, be it a warrior, a sneak archer, or a powerful archmage who destroys mudcrabs with magic. But today, I want to see if I can beat Skyrim in a more creative way. Today, I'm going to attempt to roleplay Skyrim's main quest as Captain America with nothing but a shoe. The rules for this challenge is simple. First, I can only use the shoe to do damage. No weapons or spells or shouts that can do damage. Next, I can use non-damaging shouts, if needed, for the campaign. Lastly, no restoration spells during combat. It'd be way too easy to just heal and take away some of the challenge. Any healing potions though are fair game. First thing first, gotta make our character for this run. This kinda looks like Captain America. I definitely did not spend more than 10 minutes trying to make it look like Captain America. Okay. So I'll skip the tutorial from here until we get our hands unbound. It's pretty much the same anyway. From here, the challenge starts. I grab the armor and weapons from the Deep Storm Cloak. The weapons are just to make some go when I sell them later on. Since I have no way to get a shoe at this point, I just sneak behind Rayloff until he kills both Imperial soldiers. I then equipped the Imperial Captain's armor, as the extra defensive heavy armor is almost a must for this challenge. I'm gonna be getting hit a lot with how long it's gonna take me to kill most enemies. From here, I run down to the next group of soldiers, but most importantly, there's an iron shoe in this room. Now, I can finally defend myself in more ways than one. That being said, the shoe bash is meant to be used to stagger an enemy when a mid-attack. It's not meant to be used to kill people, and therefore, it does basically next to no damage. What makes things even worse is that with only 100 stamina at the moment, I can only bash a few times before running out of stamina and having to wait for regeneration before I'm allowed to attack again. So, I decide to just run away from any fights I can, at least until I'm out of Helgen. Hey, you gotta do what you gotta do, right? Once I'm out of the tutorial, I decide to go and activate the Warrior Stone, which will cause both my block and heavy armor skills to increase by 20% faster. This will come in handy as this will be basically the only two skills I'll be able to increase. With that, I made a quick stop in Riverwood, sold everything I didn't need, and then quickly left for Bleak Fall Barrows, as I wanted to obtain the Dragonstone as quickly as possible. On the way up, I found a bandit outpost and decided to raid it. Well, this went pretty badly. It took me 10 minutes to kill 3 bandits with my shoe bash, but almost dying. Well, I quickly realized that I was going to need a major upgrade to my shoe as soon as possible. There's no way I'm doing this for 10 minutes, guys. I quickly unlocked the fast travel point for Bleak Fall Barrows and went back to Riverwood from there. I then travelled to Whiterun Stables and took the cart to Winterhold. Then, I went north until I got to Septimus Cygnus Outpost, so I can get the lexicon from him and start the quest to get the Elder Scroll. Most of you have probably figured out why I'm doing this, but for those who don't know, in the Diamond Ruin where the Elder Scroll is, there is a shoe called the Touch of the Blooded. What makes this shoe so special is that it does bleed damage over time, on top of the initial damage of the shoe bash, making it way better than the iron shoe I'm using right now. On my way to the Dwemer ruins, I was able to murder 2 wolves with my iron shoe, which took a very long time. This just once again reinforced the idea in my head of how badly I needed an upgrade to my damage. I finally made it to the Dwemer ruins, and from there, I made my way inside to claim my new shoe. Unfortunately, it was way more difficult than I imagined. See, this area was meant to be explored a lot later in the game, when you actually have decent weapons and armor. So, it has a lot of enemies that not only kills you incredibly fast, but also farmer who use frost magic, which is so annoying as it slows you down and drains your stamina, which we need for our shoe bash. If I get one hit by a single frostbolt, I am so dead. It was at this point that I remembered about cooking. You can make veggie soup, which gives the benefit of recovering 1 point of stamina and health every second for 12 minutes. Now, while this sounds kinda underwhelming, it should be noted that to do a shoe bash in Skyrim, you only need 1 point of stamina. What this means is that once I've eaten some soup, I can then shoe bash rapidly non-stop for 12 minutes straight. And spoiler alert, this makes things from here a lot way easier. So I went back to Whiterun to make the best thing to ever exist in Skyrim: veggie soup. But eventually, I was able to make it to the end with the 2 NPCs, Yumana and Sula. Now, with my current shoe, it'll be next to impossible to kill them and retrieve the shoe. Thankfully, the 2 of them didn't really notice me and turn on each other. Then, I was able to swoop in and take the shoe, as well as an almost full set of steel plate armor, which is a major upgrade to my defense this early in the game. At this point, I've reached level 50 blocking, which allows me to unlock Deadly Blast and deal more damage. With my newfound perk, I was able to get through Blackreach pretty easily and do its simple puzzle. I definitely did not watch a tutorial for that one, wink wink. We grabbed the Elder Scroll from the puzzle, and just like that, the challenge was back on course. Next, we went to Bleak Falls Barrow to test out my new shoe and grab the Dragonstone for Farengar. Well, he hasn't met us yet, so woohoo. I tested my new shoe on the unsuspecting bandits outside of Bleak Falls Barrows, and oh my god, the increase in damage was glorious. Now instead of taking 3 minutes to take one mislead bandit, I could defeat one with only 2 bashes thanks to the bleed damage. With my new build, I decimated all of the bandits in Bleak Falls Barrow with little to no effort. However though, I thought I hit another roadblock when I got to the spider webs that you usually have to cut down using a sword or dagger, because after the first shoe bash or 2, it looked like nothing was happening for some reason. Eventually it worked and I was able to continue. Right after, I gave that giant spider a good bashing. Once the spider was dealt with, I easily carved a path through the rest of the jogger towards the end of the cave, where I then made short work of the Draugr Overlord and retrieved the Dragonstone. Soon after, I went back to Dragon's Ridge to deliver the Dragonstone. Well, not without getting glazed by Daddy Farengar. Next, I continued the story to the fight with the dragon at the watchtower. I honestly expected this fight to be so much harder, seeing how I'm trying to fight a flying dragon with a single shoe. That said, the Whiterun guards did a surprising amount of damage to it until it landed, and I was able to stall almost all of its attack by interrupting it with a shoe bash. This feels so good even after 10 years. Anyway, I made it to the Greybeards, passed all of their tasks with flying colors, and then went off to grab the horn of Dragon Wingcaller, which was absolutely a joke. The veggie soup we made allowed me to absolutely obliterate all of the jogger and spiders on the way there. With that, I got the horn, placed it back at Ostengraf, and was back to Riverwood to speak with the worst character on the game. Once I finished talking with Delphine, I agreed to fight the dragon at Kyne's Grove with her. We fought the dragon and defeated it without Delphine. Screw her. Keeping the pace going, it was off to the Talmor embassy. I met Marwan, grabbed my stuff, and dealt with a new Talmor, and made my way to the courtyard. It was here where things got difficult. There's no way for me to deal with their magic, and they were doing a bit of damage to me. The next building was where things got really annoying. However, I was not only greeted by more Talmor, but Storm Atronov as well. I died 6 times here until I got lucky enough for the Conjurer to come out of the room with the Atronach, and I was able to kill them and finally proceed. I then grabbed the documents I needed and went to leave, but I forgot that I needed the keys of the Talmor that were holding Marwan hostage. Well, rip Marwan, you shall be missed. After that, it was off to Riften, and I had an easy 2-minute run through the Redway tunnels with my Skyrim expertise. Eventually, I found Esben, cut my way through even more Talmor, and with that, we made it back to Delphine. With Esben and Delphine getting reacquainted for 5 minutes straight, we just stood there listening like a psychopath. Nothing special. And with that out of the way, it was time to head to Alduin's Wall. Not wanting to walk the whole way there, I hired my trusty white-run Uber driver to Markov. On the way, I was attacked by one dragon and there was no way I was going to fight with that, so I just ignored them and pressed on. Once inside the temple, we murdered the fourth one, and then proceeded to do a puzzle that was so simple, I solved it on accident. I then donated some blood to the floor, read the wall, heard the story, and Delphine lit some giant candles with some invisible torch. It just works. Now we were in the final stretch, and it was back to the Greybeards to learn the Clear Skies shout, which is another shout we have to use to progress the story, so I can get to the throat of the world where I can meet Patronax, the best dragon in the game. Dragon Daddy. Once again, he will let us pass until we breathe fire on him. So, Dragon Daddy? Anyway, he asked me to get the Elder Scroll so I can travel back in time to learn Dragon Ran. However, I blew his mind by informing him I grabbed it about 6 hours ago at the beginning of the challenge. So, I watched the long cutscene, watch a person get yeeted 5 feet into the air, and learn Dragon Ran. Afterwards, we threw hands with Alduin and won. After this, I had the Jarl of Whiterun ask him if I can trap a dragon in his house. He obviously says no, so I force a temporary peace treaty for the Civil War, then ask again politely. He's all good now. Then it was off to the final area of the game. I'll be honest here, I was hitting this part because I know it's filled to the brim with Jogger and dragons, which could easily kill me within seconds if I'm not careful. Well, I was right. There was 2 dragons, guys. 2 dragons that spawned at the same time. I died at least 3 times to these dragons. It was so annoying, but I'm glad that it's over now. The inside of the fort presented 0 problems, with no dragons or much less Jogger, so I was able to speed through until I was back outside, where things got really difficult. I really wanted to kill the dragon priest, but he proved to be the more powerful one here. I died multiple times, but with sheer determination and will, I was able to kill him. And now, we're off to Sovngarde. Right after I reached Sovngarde, we met the three boomers in the Hall of Valor. And now, it was time for the final battle. Alduin, which we're gonna be honest here, was a lot easier than I thought, as he's just like any other dragon. When I got him down to the ground, I just kept using the soup and shoe bashing until he eventually bled out. Though to be fair, the bleed damage he was taking was incredibly anticlimactic. And with that, I found out, yes, you can indeed complete Skyrim's entire main quest using nothing but a shoe as an offensive weapon. Oh, this challenge was so much fun. The hardest part of the run is easily the beginning, as any shoe you can get at that point was pretty much useless in terms of damage, making it kind of compulsory to get the Taj as soon as possible. But trying to get the Taj that early can be hell, with all the high level enemies guarding it. In the end, I finished with a time of about 7 hours and 15 minutes, which isn't too bad, honestly. With all that said, that's going to be it for this challenge video. If you enjoyed the challenge, feel free to leave a like on the video and subscribe to my channel, as it really does help me out a lot. I have ideas for more challenge runs in the future, so look forward to those. My name is Rubee and I'll see you guys there. Goodbye.